Hello and welcome back to the Operation HarshDoor Stop SDK. My name is Sergeant Samples and today's project is this Star Destroyer map that I've been working on with Bushy OCL. I've been helping him do some optimizations, and this is his absolutely gorgeous skybox. All credit to him for creating this beautiful texture. It's absolutely fabulous. Today I want to talk about merging and the benefits of merging when it comes to starting to optimize your map or even just make it easier to build your map. So right here I've got this box that comes in 7 individual parts, some of which are a little hard to see because they're these little individual pieces. But we have a lid and we have some lights and we have some side panels and a bottom panel here, but all together we have 7 individual parts of this one box. Now that means that each one of these meshes that has a single material attached to it all adds up to 14 draw calls. Draw calls are the instructions that are given to your computer to draw a given item and texture and everything into the scene. So the more draw calls that are in your scene, the more resources it demands. Obviously, we want to keep draw calls down to the lowest you can possibly get them so that your map runs as smoothly as possible on as many machines as possible. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the base of the box right here. And I'm going to copy the location under transform of where the box is in the world, and I'm going to paste that into the location of all of the individual pieces. The reason I'm doing this is I know that all of these individual parts have the same origin point. So this may or may not work on your other things that you're working on, but because all of these 7 individual pieces all have the same origin point, I can use this to quickly slap all of these together into the same place. And I can even select all 7 at once over here in the world outliner and just paste from there. So now all 7 share the same location. Now I'm going to right click on the object in the world and come down about 2/3 of the way to merge actors. And it's going to show me this screen right here. This is a list of all of the objects you have selected that are going to be merged together. And then you have a number of options here, including which level of detail levels to use. I'm going to use all LOD levels so that we're getting the highest detail possible in the original object. And then I'm going to hit Merge Actors, and it's going to ask you where you want to save it. For simplicity, I'm going to put it in this Meshes folder right here. And I'm all about naming conventions to stay organized. So I'm going to use SM for static mesh _ merged. The engine puts that in there automatically for you, and I like to leave it so that I know that this is the merged version. SWD is the prefix that we're using for this particular mod, and we're going to call this white box and hit save. And here it is. Here's our merged version right there. I'm going to drag this up, hit end on the keyboard, and it will automatically drop it onto whatever it's going to collide with beneath it. But here we have it. Here is our brand new merged box, and it is one mesh with one material. So we went from 14 draw calls down to 2, which is going to be huge for efficiency when you replicate that across all of your objects. The thing to remember on this, though, is that this new mesh, because it is a new mesh, it does not have level of details applied. So when we open up the object, come down to LOD settings, and here where it says LOD group, you select one of these presets. And I'm going to call this one a small prop. And what this will do is automatically reduce the geometry, the number of triangles used to render that object as it gets smaller and smaller on your screen. I know from experience that this particular object is going to need to have its LODs set manually. So to change the LODs manually, we can change the number of LODs over here, which is the number of times that it's going to reduce the geometry. Just below that is the auto compute LOD distances. I'm going to uncheck that box, and if we scroll up where it says LOD auto, select LOD 1. You can see there what it's already done. It's actually reduced. This is what it's going to look like at LOD 1 when it changes. There's the original. There it is with a little less geometry, even less geometry, and even less geometry than that. So obviously we don't want this to be what it looks like when we're up close to it. We want it to look like this when we're really far away from it. So to change the distances, just below this material slot right here, there's screen size, this little slider called screen size. And we can set that to a number that makes sense for what we're working with here. So if I go to LOD 1, let's make this say 0.20 or 0.2. Make this at LOD 2, let's go 0.15, and LOD 3, 0.1. And if we set it back to auto, we can test it out a little bit. If you look up in the left-hand corner of the screen right here, this little itty-bitty text, this shows what the LOD is currently being displayed. So this is LOD 0 based on the current screen size. It gives you a percentage right here. So we're at 0.254 right now. If I back up a little bit, it went to LOD 1 at 0.1, at 0.2 is actually where it changed. At 0.2, which is what I set it to, it changed to LOD 1. And then at 0.15, it changed to LOD 2. So you can tweak these numbers however you'd like to get them set up so that it looks the best for your particular project. I'm going to go ahead and save that for right now. I'll tweak it later. But that's the process of merging. The other thing you might need to fix is collision. So just double check your collision still works. Looks like this maintained the collision from the original meshes, which is perfect. That's what we want. So to check your collision, you can hit this collision button here at the top, and it'll show simple, which is the green lines, or complex. Operation Harsh Doorstop uses the simple collision for player collision, but the complex collision for projectiles like bullets and rockets. So with that out of the way, the collision is good and our level of details needs some tweaking, but at least they're there. So another good possible use for merging is to create presets or prefabs for items that you're going to use to build your world. So Bushy supplied me with these individual wall panels, but each one of these, when used individually, would add up to 10 draw calls, one mesh and one material each. If I was to merge them all together, I've gone from 10 to 3, one mesh with 2 materials, for a total of 3 draw calls. But remember that when you merge items, they will retain the original collision, but they will also retain their orientation in the world, because these panels are not completely lined up at 90 degrees with the world, as you can see on the ground here, this line. The mesh after they were merged was off by 5 degrees as well. So just remember that when you're merging things together. It will also use the origin point of the first object that you select. So because I selected this one first and then selected the rest, merged them together, it retained the origin point from the very first object that I selected, which is why that origin point is in the same location. But if you replicate that process across all of the individual objects, you're not only going to make your map run a lot better, but it's also going to save you work in the long run. Another method that you can use to save yourself a little bit of work is to create prefabs using blueprints. These particular items here are, we have a double door with light panels on either side that have some built-in spotlights. And here we have a single door that is open on the back, but it has spotlights on either side of it and the ability to change whether or not that door is open or closed. And this just scratches the surface of the infinite possibilities that you can do with blueprints. That's probably a discussion for another video. So I think that's going to do it for this video. I just wanted to show off some methods that you can use to optimize after the fact, or even save yourself some effort as you're building a brand new map. I hope you find it useful and have a great day.